Hey guys, let's talk sticky notes and index cards today. I want to share with you some different ways that we use these handy dandy items within our homeschool, within my normal work, my business, and also in our everyday life. As you can see, I have lots of lined and unlined sticky notes, all types of colors. And I have way more than what you see here, but I just pulled a little bit together for you. And I have lined and unlined note cards as well. Okay, so let's talk about how we use these things within our life. This is a grid paper sticky note. So sticky notes, guys, can be used for so many things. And as I'm talking, I will probably insert some videos just to give you an example of some of the ways that I use them. You can use, let's start with note cards. Let's start with these index cards, okay? You can use these to create task cards. You can use these to brainstorm. You can use note cards, index cards for what? Taking notes. With your kiddos, you can use them for sight words, okay? You can use them to study. You can play Jeopardy. You can play Pictionary. You can create games, learning games and activities. We use them for book reports, guys. I think I mentioned in an earlier video how my son was reading a book, and instead of giving him a traditional way of doing a book report, which was, writing on a sheet of paper, what you learned, tell me the characters, blah, 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 blah. What we do with both sticky notes and note cards is as he is reading the book, he has to use a note card the sticky note per chapter. So the sticky note, he will just introduce characters. Tell me something interesting about the chapter, something he was excited about. He can foreshadow. He can do whatever. Use a sticky note to jot down a few notes. He has to do that for every chapter, not every book. I will let him know what books he has to do that with. At the end of the book, he will utilize all those sticky notes and create a book report summary using the index cards. I'll insert a video right now showing you the index card book report, where every index card represents a chapter, and he has to tell me what the chapter was mainly about. Timelines, guys, timelines for our history. He will put historical facts. If we're learning about ancient Egypt, as an example, I may have him create a timeline of events of whatever he learned for that particular chapter or for that particular semester. And then what we'll do is at the end of the chapter or at the end of the unit that we're learning, all those index cards that he created, he would have to shuffle them, and I would time him, and he would have to put them in order. So you can use a timeline, create your note cards. Use your note cards to create a timeline as that example for in history, and then you can use the shuffling and putting it back together as a game, or that can even serve as the test or the quiz. Okay, so put the date on the front, and then you can put a brief summary of what happened or a name or a major event on the back. So that's a great interactive way for doing a game and or giving a quiz or a test rather than the traditional way of giving quizzes and tests. In addition to that, you can use them for any type of quiz and test. I will link a video in the card above here, or maybe in the description box, where I talked about how I use note cards for our exams. So what I'll do, instead of giving him, a 5-page exam as an example, and I don't do this for everything, it just depends on what's going on, depends on the season. But last year we did this note card thing and it worked. So this year I might go ahead and incorporate it. So what I'll do on the note card, As an example, I'll have 5 note cards and I'll have each subject on each of the note cards. And then behind that subject, it will tell him what the activity is. So if it's an activity or if it's a mini project, it'll give directions. If it's a math problem, it may be 2 math problems behind a large note card, and it'll tell him to solve it in his test booklet or on the board or whatever. But the problem itself will be on the note card. And let's say it's science. Let's say for science, for his exam, I'll have 5 questions, and the 5 questions will be on the back of the note card. And then he has to write those answers, wherever I tell him to write them. So it's a great way of giving your child their quizzes or their test without making it so formal. And the reason why we loved it is because I would put those note cards on the whiteboard, of course, with a magnet to hold it up. And then he would decide what order he wants to take the test. Normally we have test weeks. So when we have our exams or our tests, I normally schedule them for an entire week. We're not teaching anything that week. It's not a normal homeschool week. It's just a test week. And then I'll give him all the note cards on the board, like I just explained, and then he'll decide which test he wants to do on which day. If he wants to do more than one test in a day, hey, that's fine. The test, the subject is on the note card. Behind the note card gives him directions on what to do for that test, a problem. It may be an essay. It may be a mini project. It gives instructions. It gives the information on the back of the note card, and we move on from there. So that's another great way that you can utilize your index cards, quizzes, tests, timelines. Another thing that you can do is create flashcards for studying. If you're studying vocabulary words, as an example, use your flashcards to study your vocabulary words. The word in the front, definition on the back. You can also do that for scriptures. If you have Bible study, if you're having your child, learn scriptures, put the scripture on the front, write the verse in the back. Okay, so vocabulary words, scriptures. Shuffle them up. Make it a game. Show him or her the word, and they have to give you the definition or the verse within a short period of time. And then use buzzers. If they get it right, use a buzzer. If they get it wrong, use a buzzer. Make it interactive. Make it fun. Another thing you can do, we use it for science. So for science, as an example, I was telling you about the test, or the exam or the quiz. Let's say the front of the card said science, or the front of the card said cell anatomy. Then let's say on the back of the card, I would draw the cell anatomy, and this is for physiology anatomy. Okay. What he would have to do, he would have to label it. Okay, so maybe the quiz or the test is to label it, or maybe it's to create the entire cell anatomy. So we use our larger note cards for that very purpose. We use it for labeling, and we use it for science, and it works awesome. Okay, and then again, shuffle the cards up, and he can use it for studying for a future exam or future test, or you can use the shuffling and the testing for that purpose. Understand the terminology, they understand how to label and things of that nature for science. So that's an idea. You can also use it to draw state flags. So we're learning all of the states this year and the capitals. Between 6th grade and 7th grade year, we'll learn all that. So what we can do is we can have him write the state name on the front of the card, and on the back, he would have to draw it, or I may draw or just copy and print and then tape the shape of the state on one side of the note card. And then he can go ahead and identify the state in the front. So that's a great way of learning. It's also a great way to memorize. You can use the note cards for memorization. Like I said earlier, vocabulary, scriptures, and things of that nature. Not only that, but you can use it to memorize anything. Learning ordinal numbers for your younger children. If they're learning ordinal numbers, then maybe you can put that on the note card and use it as flashcards. Ordinal numbers are like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, that way. So you can put the number in the front, the traditional number in the front, and then in the back, you can have the ordinal number, and then you can go back and forth that way. You can also create flashcards with numbers and alphabets and things of that nature. So rather than buying flashcards, even though they're at the dollar store, yes, you can create them if you so choose. Okay. And of course, you can use them for chores. You can create a chore chart using your flashcards. You can put the activity on one side and put the expectation on the other side, or you can just put the activity that you require them to do on one side, post it somewhere, and as they complete it, they can move it from one area to another area, or they can move it to the bottom of the tile. They can move it from the top of the whiteboard towards the bottom of the whiteboard as they're completing the task. Chore cards, totally up to you. Another thing you can do, you can create pattern cards. You can use a stamper, or you can draw something on one side of the card and create a pattern and have the child complete the pattern. So pattern cards. You can also create little figures, or not figures, but you can create lines on your card, and you can use what's it called, popsicle sticks, to have the child recreate what they see on the flashcard or on the card. You can use them for fractions. You can use your flashcards or your index cards. You can create flashcards for fractions. You can help your child understand the difference between upper and lowercase letters by putting one on each side of the index card, and then have them determine if it's uppercase or lowercase and things of that nature. You can organize your thoughts, guys. Organize your thoughts using flashcards. Use them as a bookmark for your books. Use them as to-do list. You can even do number recognition cards with counters. So what you'll do is you will put a number on the flashcard, and then you can get counters, beans, bears, toys, bottle caps, whatever. And if the flashcard sets 5 on it, then they're responsible for counting 5 counters. So that'll give them number recognition. You can also use it to outline an essay. If you're teaching your child how to brainstorm, how to outline, how to organize his or her thoughts, this is just a great way to help them do that in a sequential order so that when they're ready to write a complete outline or write a paper or whatever, they can utilize their note cards to help them generate additional thoughts. And they can use note cards to jot down their ideas so they don't forget those original thoughts. So those were the ways that we used or are using or will use note cards within our home education. But let me quickly talk about sticky notes. This will be really, really quick. So for sticky notes, we use these for many, many of things. We create inspirational and motivational notes for ourselves, or if we're learning affirmations, same thing. We'll also put our affirmations on our note cards and keep them with them and use them as flashcards as we're having discussion. But you can also put them on a sticky note and post it on a mirror, post it, on the refrigerator, post it on a door, post it somewhere where you will always see it, somewhere that you will always come encounter with or encounter to every single day. So motivational or inspirational little notes, you can actually use them, guys, to catch eraser shavings. So let me show you. So here's a sticky note here, right? I'm gonna take this, and here is all these eraser shavings on the table that my son does, right? So instead of I don't know why he doesn't clean it off every day, but you can take your sticky note and boom, gone. Just take it. Isn't this cool? Have you ever thought of this? Have you ever thought of that? Use your sticky notes to do that, right? So, although you're like, I'm not, using this for taking something that I can just clean off really quick. But I normally use this method if I have a note card a sticky note that is wrinkled, or if I'm no longer using it anymore, I just go ahead and remove the shavings. So there you go. Okay. You can also use your sticky notes to, create reminders, to-do lists. You can also use them as bookmarks, create quick notes for yourself. You can use them to help plan and organize ideas and thoughts and projects and things of that nature. We like to use our sticky notes a lot for brainstorming activities. So that's why you will see throughout our journey that we use a lot of sticky notes. And when I say brainstorming activities, I like to use a project management approach of brainstorming, many times called the war wall, which if we are brainstorming on an activity, if we're brainstorming, for anything, I like to jot all our thoughts down. No thought is stupid. All thoughts are great. So what we'll do is we'll jot down all of our thoughts, all of our ideas on a note card and post it on the wall or post it on a board. Eventually, it'll be a lot of them, okay? Every thought on one post-it note. And then we'll go through the thoughts and then we'll organize them. So we'll create headers. And then we'll say, based on what we're doing, we'll create headers and we'll organize all those sticky notes under a specific header. And we'll also have a header that will say doesn't apply because it may not be applicable to whatever we're doing. And then we'll go even further and we'll look at each of those sticky notes and we will decide what really doesn't make sense for what we're doing. We'll trash them. And then eventually we have a board with many ideas that are useful for whatever we're doing. And then we'll translate that to a project or translate that to a paper. So that's how we use sticky notes, guys. That's how we use index cards within our homeschool. Hopefully you found this of benefit. Hopefully you found this information useful. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comment box below. And as always, guys, be blessed and make it a great day. Bye.